Is getting to elite strength really worth it? Well, that depends what your goals are and who you're speaking to, but let me say that from my perspective, I always view this as the only option. For the simple reason that I never want to have regrets. Why go through this long training journey and settle for less when you know for an absolute fact, that's not even up for debate, you know that you're capable of more? That's what I don't get. Not fulfilling your potential. Then looking back, wondering, what if? What if I would have gone for that extra 50-pound PR, even if it would have taken me 5 years to accomplish? Sure, it's hard. It's enduring. You need to sacrifice a lot. And it probably won't make you that much happier. Or in some cases, make it worse. But regardless of all that, it's the achievement factor. You committed yourself to the iron and never turned back, only moving forward and being 100% satisfied with the results. That is what it's all about. The mental benefits that you get from this, as well as knowing that, hey, I'm the best version of me, and I'm damn proud of what I can display. Not for others, not to impress, not to seek validation, but solely for the purpose of knowing that you yourself acquired individual strength mastery, which no one can ever take away from you. This is one of the most important features of physique transformations, and you did it all the way, literally turning every single stone. So I say congratulations to those who are willing to undergo this path. And that's my perspective. Be number one for you. But I understand that not everybody is wired like this, especially in the online fitness community. So besides that little motivational rant right there, let me present the counter viewpoint. First things first, most lifters are novices, and the truth is that if they got out of this phase, they would look better than 95% of the population. This is not an over-exaggeration. I know there's a lot of fitness influencers out there who have the best physiques and strength to go with it, but understand this is the top 1%, not the top 5%, which you will surely be in after gaining 10 to 20 pounds of muscle. Do you know how much that is? Have you ever gone to a store, taken ground beef, and looking what 20 pounds is? It's a lot. And you will gain over 70% of your total natural size by simply becoming intermediate. And yes, the numbers aren't bad at all. A lot of guys who see you doing 2 plates for reps on the bench are like, whoa, look how strong this guy is. Heck, if you're deadlifting the 400s, it's still viewed as pretty good. It's not that bad. Yes, the standards have increased. We know a lot more about strength training, and most of you can get to a level that you probably never thought was possible back in the day. We can thank exercise science and history for that, as well as the many great strength coaches right here on YouTube and Instagram. But regardless of all that, it's still good when you're intermediate. And that's the main point I'm trying to stress. Most people just want to look a little bit better and be stronger at certain key movements. They don't care about having competitive level strength. And that's cool. Everyone has their individual goals, and that needs to be respected. What you have to do is look at yourself in the mirror and be honest. Is this really what you want? If you can say 100%, yes, I don't care about deadlifting 500 pounds. I'm aesthetic. I look good. I'm proud of these numbers. Then so be it. You did what you had to do. I will never take that away from you. But if there's a little bit of regret, you're like, ooh, I really wish I can get that 3-plate bench. Different story here. But still, you're benching the mid 2s. It's honestly not bad. Look around. Guys are benching 135, man. You already know you're in the upper class. Not everybody cares about strength mastery, especially when you realize that no one really cares about what you do. And there's always going to be somebody better than you. Let me say that a lot of trainers in my position fail to recognize the perspective of these average lifters. So that needs to be considered. But beyond all that stuff, the goals and everything, we need to look at the process itself, the journey that I was discussing at the beginning of this video. Understand, this is one of the greatest commitments you'll ever go through. Becoming elite is not easy. I'm talking about being on point year-round with your sleep, nutrition, and programming. If any of these factors are off, your progress will be significantly slowed down, because the more experience you gain under your belt, the harder it is to make gains. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. At some point, you might be only gaining 1 to 2 pounds of muscle a year. It is what it is, and the strength performance might be a 10-pound PR yearly. What do you want me to say about that? You chose to stay natural. This is what it is. So that realization makes it such that you need to be on top of your shit all the time. And that can be psychologically draining and physically, because you're pushing yourself so hard to get so little in return. That's why a lot of guys give up, and they come up with excuses. Oh, I need to get on a certain protocol because of X reason, when in reality, they just wanted to enter the dark side. And about that, I would say that a lot of guys had a lot more potential inside them, but they gave up too soon. What they were experiencing was simply a plateau, not the natural limit. So you have to ask a few important questions here. Are you willing to go through the pain? because it's not easy. Are you willing to cut out foods that you really enjoy but you know are unhealthy for you? Because it's going to potentially screw up your macros or your calorie surplus, your deficit, or even your health markers. Are you willing to go to the gym after a gruesome day at work and you want to chill out with the boys or your girl, but you can't do that because there's a commitment. This is the day. Maybe it's the only day that you have because of a scheduling restriction. You got to get in there. You're tired as heck. You're getting it in. And then to top it all off, you can't even entertain yourself when you get back home because you got to wake up early. You got to get your 8 hours of sleep. This affects your life in other ways. Surely, the gym is not meant to become your life. It's supposed to enhance it. But sometimes it could be quite burdening in ways you didn't even expect. And anyone who's serious knows what I'm talking about. This is a commitment that requires sacrifice, and being the best is not easy. Otherwise, everybody else would be. Now, for a lot of you guys, this actually isn't a problem. You've adopted a healthy lifestyle. You got discipline behind it. It's all good. But what about the programming? Are you willing to address your weaknesses year after year? Constantly playing around with the variables, rotating specific movements, constantly upping those weights. The mental strain of progressive overload itself, or better yet, the fact that you're training harder and harder, yet getting less results. It's taking longer, yet you've never felt this tired before in your entire life. The recovery aspect, learning more about strength training, overcoming plateaus, all this manipulation you gotta do for what? For numbers that nobody cares about. It's just you fulfilling an objective that you set out to achieve, which is rewarding, like I said, but year after year, it does get more difficult, and you have to be willing to accept that. If that list doesn't sound devastating enough, guess what? There's another major component which is really going to turn people off. The increased injury risk. Look at the guys who are elite for years to come. I would say the majority, at least if we look at it anecdotally, though there are some statistics too, have an injury of some type. It could be minor or a bit more severe. Whereas if you were simply advanced or later intermediate, the chances is greatly diminished. Why? The concept of absolute load, in addition to the fact that you're managing all these variables, you're really dialing in on your training. That's why if you don't know what you're doing, you're probably going to get hurt. All these guys running minimalist routines, extremely high injury risks. Whereas if you follow someone like Matt Wenning, who has a really good track record of staying injury-free while at the elite stage for decades, that's a different story. So who you listen to can be a big driver whether or not you're going to get snapped up. And I'm going to keep it real. There's a lot of steroid abusers on this platform who don't know how to coach, who give you programs that are probably going to be less effective while actually being more dangerous. There are very few channels that I could recommend, and maybe I'll do that in the Q&A. Maybe I'll make an individual video on that. My top recommendations, check out these guys. But the thing is, it's so oversaturated, this community, with guys who really don't know what they're doing. Or if they do know what they're doing, sure, you'll get gains, but you might get snapped up in the process at some point. And to me, that is a major compromise. What we want is to get bigger and stronger year round while cutting back the strain on the body. And the thing is, even if we do everything right, you can still get hurt because the concept of absolute load, you're lifting heavier. For me to do heavier bench, I'm always going to be in the 300s now. Guess what? That puts more strain on the joints compared to doing the 200s. And for what? Well, that'll bring me on to another connected point. The fact that the difference muscle-wise between advanced and elite is not that significant. It's maybe 5-10% more. Like for me, I think I have 1 inch left max in my arms. That's about all I could do. Lean muscle tissue here, not just bulking up to 200 pounds and I got my 17s. I think it's going to take a lot more time to get to this point, but it will happen because I'm committed. But think about it. I started off with noodle arms, put on all this muscle, and now I got this much left. It's crazy, but that's what it is. It explains why the real naturals in YouTube fitness look pretty similar year to year. They don't change that much. They might look a little bit better in certain positions, and they're probably a little bit stronger as well, as expected. But you don't see major transformations unless we're talking about muscle memory or they went through like an extreme cutting phase and then they're bulking up again. It's extremely slow and gradual. You can have a twin brother who's slightly weaker than you, yet if you were to stand side by side, there wouldn't even be that much a big size difference. That's a crazy thought right there, man. This guy could be chilling, enjoying life. Maybe he's sleeping 6.5 hours a night. You're getting 9+, yet you look freaking similar. Now that's psychologically defeating right there, but hey, if you can push through that, I commend you because you know that you're not getting that much. In the long run, it's worth it. Those inches add up, but not right away. Takes years, my friend. And to add on to that, I would say that elite strength training is not necessary for bodybuilding. In fact, it's less efficient. Yes, you can build muscle with low repetitions, with singles, with higher percentages, but what's the trade-off? You have to do more sets to compensate. And that is harder on your recovery, while at the same time, taking more time. The reality is that the percentages used are less of a factor than we once thought. If you're taking that muscle close to failure, you got the optimal hypertrophic effect. Whether that's at 50% of your 1 rep max or 65%, 75%, you're still going to get huge. So the specificity aspect of the higher percentages, obviously it's going to help you get stronger, but the size gains are not going to be that much better is what I'm telling you. It'll be comparable, but you have a little bit more pound for pound strength. That's all there is to it. Obviously, you can't separate size and strength. They will be highly correlated. And as you get bigger, that muscle will have more strength potential. So I wouldn't view these as separate approaches, rather from the perspective of efficiency and what makes the most amount of sense for bodybuilding and just getting huge in the process. And what's easier on recovery? Doing a bunch of high set, slow reps, but they're triples, or your classic percentages, sets and reps that we know for a fact work for getting big. That's, again, where it becomes tricky. Strength training in itself is amazing for building mass when you do it right. But some of the techniques we use are not superior from a hypertrophy standpoint, which is an important goal for many. You see what I'm saying now? This topic is not a simple matter. There are many serious considerations to make. So that's why you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be honest. Is this really what I want? Am I doing this for ego-related reasons? Is it superficial? Is it validation? Is it because I want to make myself proud? Can I accept these potential little consequences here? Do I accept the reality of what Alex just said? Or are you going to reject some of the truths that I spoke of? Because I'm always keeping it real with you guys. It's your choice. I'm just giving you the information. I want you to decide for yourself. I gave you my stance at the beginning of this video, and then I shared all the potential setbacks. And I accept the consequences for myself too. I know I'm on the right path. Not trying to prove anything to anyone. Some areas I hit elite, some areas I don't. I don't really care. I'm training for myself and to inspire the lifting community. Show you what's actually obtainable strength and physique wise. So I got my reasons, but now you got to ask yourself, what are yours? Let's see some of those in the comment section. And let me know if you want more content like this. So there you have it. Is getting elite strength worth it? You decide.